And let us go ahead and create some demos. I'm going to show you how to create an user, and then we'll create a group and then also a role and then assign some policies to that. Let us get over to our IAM dashboard now. So let us go ahead and create our first user. I'm going to call this guy as a demo user, and I need only my console access right now for this demo user. That is, I want to have a username and password so that this user can log in. And I am going to have a demo with this user ID. So in production, you will most probably use an auto-generated complex password. But since this being a demo, I'm just going to give a very, very simple user ID here and then simple password. And I'm just giving a user. I'm just going to choose this one, and then I'm just going to put in my, what I'm going to say is this one. So I'm just going to put it, copy it, and then keep a note of it so that I don't forget it. So that is done. Next, I'm just going to ensure that I don't want anybody to change the password. So I'm just going to click on next now. So here is the part where I can attach permissions to my user. It says, what permissions do you want to set for my demo user? By default, you can see here the user is not having any permissions. I'm just going to click on review, and then it gives me a warning saying this user has no permissions. Yes, that is how I want it to be. So click on create user. So I'm just going to copy this as well. This is the URL that I will need to connect to that user. Here I have logged in with an private browser with this new user ID because I will get logged out or my permissions will reset if I logged in with the same ID, same browser. So just use a different browser to get in. And I'm just going to navigate to my S3 service, and I'm going to see if I can find what are the buckets that are in my account. So let us go to S3 because that is the most easiest thing that we can quickly check. So as you can see here, by default it says access denied. If you remember, when you are creating the user ID, we did not give any policies to this user. So let us go ahead and see how we can assign some policies to this user now. I am back in my S3 IAM dashboard. So I'm going to select this user, demo user, and here you can see here permissions. There are nothing there. I'm going to click on add permissions, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to search for some permissions. Now this is not the one I wanted. The third one is gives me attach existing policies directly. So I'm going to click on that, and here I'm going to search for S3 now. So as of now, I have provided this access publicly. This is not a secure account, so I don't want to give S3 full access. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give S3 read-only access and select that. Click on next, click on add permissions, and my permissions are attached. So AWS policy attachment is almost near real time. So if I go back to my S3 dashboard, and let us go ahead and do a refresh, and I should be able to list the buckets that are in my account. You see this error denied, but if I refresh the whole page, that error denied will also go away. So most of the policy attachments are near real time in my experience. So your results may vary, but it happens almost instantaneously. So here you see here I have a lot of buckets, and I'm able to access those buckets also. Say for example, I want to go to logs output, and then let us go to T3, and I'm just going to go ahead and say download, and I will be able to download this object, of course depending upon your internet speed or things. But if I go ahead and click on upload, and let us say I want to upload a file, so I'm just going to try and upload a small file, say cloud small, and it is going to go ahead and give me an error here. It says that one error. Let me go ahead and click on that one error, and if I go ahead and click on this one, it will say forbidden. That is because I don't have permissions to upload objects to this bucket. So this user, this demo user, has access to all my S3 buckets, but he cannot make any changes. Like for example, I showed a demonstration for upload. Let me go ahead and try and delete as well. Just select this file object, go ahead and click on delete, click delete, and I should be seeing two errors now. So you see here, delete object, and then it says access denied. So this user has only read-only permissions for my S3 bucket now. I can do something similar for EC2 also. Here under attach policies, if you can notice here, there is only EC2 read-only access, and then click on next and add permissions. If I go to my EC2 instance or EC2 service, and this user will be able to see what are the instances are running, but this user will not be able to modify anything in my instance, say for example stopping the server or terminating the server, but he will be able to see what is the instance security group, what is the instance IP address, what is the ENIs attached, what is the keys, whether they can download the keys or not, all those things. They can read every information, but they will not be able to modify any information in my account. So if we want to remove the policies for any user, all you have to do is go to that user, go to permissions, and let us say you want to remove the EC2 read-only access. Just click on this option, and it asks you whether you want to detach that policy. Yes, I want to detach that policy. So that is how simple you can attach or detach policies from a user. Say you want to add a custom policy. Click on add permissions, and then you can go ahead and show an inline policy. Just one moment. Here when you click on attach existing policies, you can say here there's an option which says create policy, and it is going to take you to another dashboard which is going to help you in writing your own custom policies. So it asks you the JSON code. If you have the JSON code, you can go ahead and copy paste them directly, or if you want to edit them manually, go ahead and do it choosing the service and actions and resource conditions. This is going to you will have and take some help while configuring it manually, because you need to understand what kind of actions that you want to perform on each service and what users are going to perform those actions, and then you are going to review your policy and attach it. So the simple use case, something like S3, go ahead, choose S3, what actions I want to choose, only get object now. So let us say read, that is what my get operations will do. So what resources I will have to type in the resources, and I want to give specific resources. It is going to ask me which bucket. I want to give a particular bucket ID, say for example logs output, and then click on add. So my ARN for my bucket is added, and do I want to give it for a particular IP address, particular MFA, and all those conditions. Then click on review policy, and it asks me to give a policy name, and this policy will be created. So S3 custom policy. So my policy is getting created. So if I go ahead and search for my policy here, if I type in S3, you can see here it just lists my default policy here, and once I click on that, it will attach that policy to my account now. And of course you can go ahead and modify it. You can attach it to any user anywhere. So if I go to users now, demo user, add permissions, and let me go ahead and search for S3 here, and you can see here the one that we just now created, it comes up here. I can select this and then click on preview, add permissions. So that is how you create a custom policy and attach it to a user. We are going to create a group. If you remember, for a demo user, I have removed all the permissions. Let me go back to my demo user now. You can see here under user, I'm under demo user section, and let us remove all the policies which are currently attached to demo user. We don't want any permissions given directly to this user now. Probably I removed it earlier. So let me just navigate back and come back here. There is some issue. Let me just go ahead and refresh the screen itself. So our demo user does not have any permissions. What I'm going to do now is, see here, demo user is not part of any group also. So I'm going to create a new group called as server admin group, server ADM group, and then create next. And then I want to give an EC2 access to this server admin because these guys are server admins, and I want to give them, let us say, instead of server admin, let us say they're L1 support. I'm going to give them read access now. So click on next step and then click on create group. So I have created a new group called server admin group, and I have given them an EC2 read-only access to this group. So the next step is if I browse to my EC2 instance with a demo user, I will not be able to access any instances. Let us go ahead and do that as well. I'm going to navigate to my EC2 console. When I'm logged in as a demo user, you can see here in the top right corner, it says the username is a demo user here. If you can see my mouse there. So I'm navigating to my EC2 dashboard, and as of now, this person is not authorized to see any of my resources. So let us say this person has been inducted to my team, and I'm going to make him part of the server admin group. So select this user, select this group, add users to this group, and I'm going to say demo user has become L1 support. Click on add users. So he will inherit every permission that has been provided to this group, and you can see here this person has EC2, this group has EC2 read-only access. So let us go back to our dashboard, and I'm going to hit refresh here, and there you go. I can see all the running instances in my account, what are the security groups in my account, and elastic IPs. And even if I navigate anywhere, it will not give me an error saying page cannot be displayed, or this person doesn't have the permissions, error denied. It will go ahead and list out the resources. But if I go ahead and let us say I want to create a resource, and the last step it will give a error saying I will not be able to create it. Instead of creating a server itself, let me go ahead and create a security key. There you go. When you go to key pair and try to create a new key pair, it takes me all this way saying key pair name, but when I click on create, it gives me an error saying you are not authorized to perform this operation. So in other words, this user can see everything, but they cannot make any changes. That is how groups are created, and the permissions from the group gets cascaded to the end user also. So the next thing is roles. How are we going to create roles and how are we going to use it? Say for example, I have an EC2 server and I want access my S3 buckets from my EC2 server. So I can do it in two ways. I can create an access key and secure key, and then I can go ahead and configure access for that. So let me show you first that way, and then we will see what is the problem with that way, and then we will come and see how to avoid that by using roles. So let me go ahead and start a server first. So use Amazon Linux because it comes with the pre-installed Linux binaries that makes it easier to configure it. And I want a public IP address, so I want to ensure that. And here is the IAM role. You can see here it's none right now. We'll come and use this field later. And I need default security group port 80 should be fine. Just port 22 also should be needed for me. So review and launch. I need this public IP address. So let us go ahead and connect to our server now. Now I'm connected to my server, and let us say I want to access some buckets. The command to access my S3 bucket is something like AWS S3 LS, and it is most probably going to complain that I don't have any credentials in my account. So these are the credentials I need, and if I want to configure my credentials, it says run this command. So if I run this command here, it is going to ask me what is my access key. So this is a programmatic way of accessing your account. So the CLI way, programmatic way, and console way, we saw the console. Now we are going to see the CLI way, and for doing that also we need the access key. Let us go ahead and generate that in our account. So I am in my IAM dashboard for a user called a demo user, and I'm going to go to security credentials here, and you can see here create access key. So this is what I'm going to do now. And when I click on this create access key, it is going to give me my access key and secret key. And this has to be kept private at all times. Since this is a demo, I'm just going to disclose what is my secret key also. So I'm just going to copy this access key and put it into my AWS configure command. So here come in and paste the access key, and when you press enter, it is going to ask you what is your secret access key. So when you go back to the IAM, this is the secret access key. If you click on show, it is going to disclose the secret access key. Let me copy that and put it into the CLI here, and then paste it here, and it is going to ask you what is the default region. I would like my default region to be in AP South 1 and leave the default output as null itself. So as of now, if you remember, this user has only an permissions which was part of that group. This user doesn't have any permissions for AWS S3. So if I go ahead and do S3 LS, you can see here earlier it said unable to locate credentials, but it is giving me an error saying I cannot access them because access is denied. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to provide S3 access again to this user. Here this user was part of the server admin group. I'm just going to select this group, and then I'm going to add a permission for this user saying S3 read only access. Come on, S3 read and attach policy. So my policy is attached. We are now in our terminal. I'm just going to execute the same command now, and it is taking a minute to refresh, I guess. Yeah. So the policy is near real time, but that is mean that not it's real time. So you can see here, it just picks up all the values of my bucket and it shows. So the one problem with this access is the keys that I've given here are stored in my server itself. Here you can do see here, if I do an ls-la, there's a directory called .aws. If I navigate to .aws and do ls-l, there is a couple of files. One is config and credentials. Let me open the file called credentials, and you can see here my secret key and access key are stored, or in other words hard coded in my server itself. Say for example somehow my server is breached and somebody gets access to my servers, they will get hold of these keys and they will be able to assume whatever privileges that are assigned to this group because they have access to these keys. So this is one easy way of configuring, but not the most secure way of configuring accessing your resources. So go ahead and recommend the CLIs when you cannot use roles, but whenever possible, let us go ahead and use roles, because roles will not store your keys anywhere. They will be generating tokens, and those tokens will be used to authenticate between services, and they will provide the information based on that token. And there is no hard-coded keys anywhere at all. So let us go ahead and remove this configuration. I'm just going to do AWS configure, and I'm just going to put a space here so that it doesn't work. I'm just going to see S3 LS, and you can see here it says malformed because I just ensure that my configuration file is null now. So if I go ahead and do credentials, and you can see here I just put a space there. So I cannot access my S3 buckets right now from my command prompt, but let us go ahead and create a role and assign it to this server, and we will see whether we can access my S3 buckets again. Here we are in our IAM dashboard. Go ahead and go to roles section, and I'm going to say create a role, and who is going to access your role? There is the question that is being asked here, which AWS service. So in this case, for me, EC2 is going to use my server, use my role now. So in short, when I click on EC2, it gives me all these options. It says allows EC2 instance to call AWS services on your behalf. So that is what I want to do. I want to allow EC2 to call my S3 service and get some data. So select the first one, click on next, and then what permissions I want to give. Once again, I want to say this time S3 full access. I'm going to select S3 full access, click on review, and what role I want to give. I want to give something meaningful here, S3 EC2 to S3 full access. I'm just going to select that. In case I need it, click on create role. And it is going to list all the roles that are in my account. You can see here I have just created plenty of roles for different scenarios. There are Lambda roles, Kinesis roles, image processing roles. So the role that I created, if you want to see it in particular, I'm just going to select it, filter it, and here is my role, and it gives me all the relationships or all the permissions that are associated with this role. Now it has been created. How do I attach it to my server? So for attaching it to the server, you go to your EC2 dashboard, select the server that you are interested in, and click on actions. And again, under the instance settings, you will find an option to say attach or replace IAM role. So here I can go ahead and pick up the EC2 full access role. Of course, you can come here and click on this option to create a new role, and then it will automatically get picked up and show here. But the ideal way to do it is set it up in IAM, come and assign it here. Click on apply. Once again, it's near real time. Let us go ahead and test it in our console now. So I'm in my terminal now. I'm just going to say AWS S3 LS, and there are some permissions still missing. So let me just go ahead and give it a minute or so. You can see here I just nulled the file so that it doesn't go ahead and pick up the values from my credentials file. Even if I go ahead and more my credentials file now, I'm sorry, even if I go ahead and more the credentials file, you can see here there's nothing there. I just emptied the entire file. I don't have the user key or access key, secure key anywhere stored on my server, but I can still access my S3 buckets, and it is listing my buckets. Let us go to our S3 dashboard and see how many are there right now. WC-L, there are about 10 buckets, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create a new bucket, AWS S3 make bucket, S3 : test demo bucket from IAM, something like that. I just wanted to create a unique name, so I just made something up. And let me say echo So I just created a simple file. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to upload this file into S3. Now, if you remember, we gave full access permissions for this user. So I was able to demonstrate it by creating a bucket. And the next demonstration is I'm going to upload this file into my bucket itself. So AWS S3 CP, this is my file name. I'm just going to put it as welcome, that is the file name. And then the destination is going to be this one, and see, upload has been successful. So if I do AWS S3 LS for this bucket, and I should be able to see the bucket. Let us go and confirm this in our S3 console also. I'm just opening up my S3 dashboard here, and I should be able to see the new bucket that we just now created and the file inside that bucket as well. So let me go ahead and find that bucket here. You can see here the bucket is the bottom, and if I open that bucket, I will find a file called welcome. And if I go ahead and download this file, and I should be able to find a small text which says welcome to IAM demo. Here we are. This is the file that was created, and that is the content of that file there. The last or quite often ignored part of it is setting your password policy for your account. So if you want to set up a password complexity for your account, you can go ahead and choose what complexity you want, to say the minimum length, whether you want uppercase, lowercase parameters, and all those parameters you can customize and apply your password policy. Every user who is being created will automatically conform to that password policy you have set it, because this is an account wide configuration and it will have to be confirmed here. So that is one thing. The next thing is credentials report. Sometimes you audit purposes, you want to create a report of what users were created, what permissions were given, and what password was set, when it was last reset, all those things. You can get a CSV report of your account activity anytime, and then just go ahead and download it, and it gives you a report in CSV format. And sometimes it has information on confidential information, say what access keys and all those, how many access keys and all those things. So I don't want to open it because this credential report will have all my user IDs, but I would strongly recommend you to go ahead and uh, download your report and have a look into it after you set up the demo. That is one more thing I wanted to share with you guys. If you remember, I spoke about encryption keys in your account whenever you're doing S3, EBS, or EFS. We saw that we can use our default keys. And where are those keys coming from? This is the place that keys are getting picked up. If you go ahead and click on Get Started, and remember, keys are region specific. Keys are not global. If I create a key in US Virginia region, that key will be available in that region only. If I do something in Mumbai, say for example, these keys will not be available. I mean, there will be a different set of keys for that mobile location. So from here only my keys are getting picked up. You can see here I have used S3, Lambda, ACM, and all these resources here, but you will not find the same thing if I go to Virginia. That is the reason. That is the reason. And if you want to have your own keys, it's quite an advanced topic, but if you want, I can give you documentation on how to do this. I have set up a separate documentation because you need to generate your own key. If you don't have your key, then you can use OpenSSL package and create your keys and go ahead and import them into your S3 account, KMS account, and you can use that key for encrypting your S3 or EBS or EFS, anything. So these are the keys, and these are all default keys, by the way. This is all Amazon managed. You don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything. And automatically the keys are created whenever you say, I want to encrypt a Lambda service or I want to encrypt an RDS service. And key management also happens automatically. Say, for example, you have a key and you want to delete it after 7 days or rotate it automatically. You have this option under key actions. Especially if you have a custom key, you will be able to select it and go ahead and say schedule key deletion, or you can delete the key material or the encrypted code that provides something like this. Alphanumeric code will be there that will be deleted automatically. So that is the KMS part of things in AWS, and this is quite tricky. Sometimes people say that they have created the key but it is not visible. That is because if you go ahead and do it in Virginia, it will not be available in other regions. Remember that.